And welcome back to this segment of Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls. Very happy to have with us Rick Bunch, Richard Bunch, depending on how you call him. You've known him for many years as a physical therapist, as an author. Served our country, did some great things. Went to West Point, was a specialist. Then he met a woman named Ellen, and that all changed his life and got him situated and doing some great things. And you may say, well, Martin, why you have Rick on today? He's sold some of his companies, and he's doing author work and books. You talking about books? Nope, not today. I'm going to tell you what we're talking about. Rick sent me a text late last week, and he showed me in some of the stores that he was shopping at. I presume it was for Christmas. I'll let him clarify that in a second. But some of the things that were on the shelves were eye-opening. And I'm talking about vulgarity and profanity. And they were right there in the stores in Terrebonne Parish. And look, I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about First Amendment issues and all that, because my dad and a lot of other dads fought so we could have First Amendment rights and different things. But we do, it's obvious, have a moral responsibility for our kids and our culture. And I want to bring on Rick Bunch right now. Rick, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Martin. First of all, what you're saying is spot on. But a lot of people don't realize obscenity is not covered by the First Amendment. Mm-hmm. There was a landmark case in 1964 by the Supreme Court. Judge Potter Stewart made you may recall this, where he says, I don't know what I can't define pornography or obscenity, but I know it when I see it. And that became actually a landmark for your business, FCC regulation.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And so we all know what's, first of all, you got obscenity, and you got indecency, and you got profanity. Mm-hmm. What I was really upset about was I was seeing profanity. Mm-hmm. Profanity on wine glasses, on mugs, and this one of our best stores in Houma. I'm not going to mention the name, but it's one of the nicest stores in Houma. I shopped there for many years. And I was so upset when I saw this because it's in plain view for any young child to see, and this is a problem. As adults, we have all used expletives, but we don't do this in a social setting that's formal. We don't do this in our churches, and we certainly don't do it in front of our children. Mm-hmm. You can use an expletive. I can say, blank you, Martin, in anger. It's got a very derogatory term. Mm-hmm. The context is very important. But if I say, Martin, thank you for inviting me to that party, it was blanking awesome. Mm-hmm. The same word, but a whole different context. Right. We know how to do that because we have a frontal cortex. My PhD, my doctorate, is in developmental neurobiology. Mm-hmm. And we learn things as young children that become ingrained into that frontal cortex, so that we teach our children by restraining them from using those words. I'd like to ask your audience, how many of them out there are fine with their young children saying four-letter words? I would hope not too many would say, yeah, that's okay. Yet we're seeing them on products in our stores in plain view, people wearing them on their T-shirts, etc. And it just bothers me so much. That's why I pulled the manager out and talked to him. I said, this is really ridiculous. I'm not a prude. I was in the Army for 3 years, where obscene language was common during.
Yeah, you heard the F-bomb dropped a few times. Yeah.
Many times, and used it occasionally in inappropriate situations or I should say, in situations that is not inappropriate. Mm-hmm. Confidentially with a friend or something, or I dropped something on my foot, Right. But I do know those are bad words, and every religion, no matter what religion you're in, has a moral code, a moral standard. Whether you're a Christian, I'm a Christian, whether you're a Islamic, whether you're Hindu, they have moral codes. Everybody knows what this is. And when we're talking about morality, we're talking about knowing the difference between right and wrong. And I think that since the onset of social media over 30 years ago, and with the degradation of the family structure. We have seen a steady decline in a moral code.
So I guess your point is, you don't want to set the template or the table so readily for a young child who's walking in the store with their parents shopping, and all of a sudden the kids see it right there. Kids are going to find out later. They're going to go through society. They're going to hear it. It's going to be filtered. But when it's unfiltered like that at an early age, you're sort of advancing the template on them.
Absolutely, and research shows that that children start learning these words as early as 2 years old, and the more they learn these words, it's been associated with aggression and with removing the emotional response to those words. I think you may have seen, too many people in this country have seen on national TV news, a young 4-year-old calling a police officer all these F-bombs and everything, and at the same time kicking him, while the parents or the adult supervisors that were near him were laughing about it. And this is, the moral decay has always concerned me.
Rick, I guess I'm thinking, not that any of us were perfectly innocent, because I got my mouth washed out with soap before too, so I can't sit here and go, all right, I never did it. I did. But on open display, and we've sort of watched the degradation of just the Mayberry days, like I always say, and it's almost anything goes now. There's no filter anywhere.
Right.
And I long for those days, the Back to the Future days, where 50s and 60s, yeah, they had some bad stuff going on, but it was nothing like it is today. I think we're talking about filtering, aren't we?
Right, exactly. It reminds me of the classic Christmas movie. This is Christmas time, it's good time. The Christmas Story, when Ralphie blurts out the F word. And the mother's going, where did you hear that from? and the commentator goes, he heard it 1,000,000 times from his father.
Right.
Right. And so the thing is, that's one thing. I think a lot of parents not from our generation. There's a lot of good things about the younger generation. Let me point that out. They're a lot more accepting and things like that. But there's a lot of bad things going on because of social media that I think has desensitized them. Like you said, taking the filter away, that frontal lobe brain part, and where kids are now, or even parents kind of laugh when their kids say a bad word. And the moral issues with that to me are troubling, very much so. Again, from my Christian background, I have, I'm not one of those that can quote verses from the Bible, but there's a whole lot of verses from the Bible that address.
Well, what did it do when you were walking? Okay, you shopped at this particular store quite a bit.
Right.
Knowing you're a pretty loyal person, you probably spent a lot of money over the year. But when you saw this and you spoke to the manager, was there any remorse?
Well, the manager understood my position, and she said she would talk to the owners about it. But she says, I think the owners were trying to market to a specific clientele. I told her, I said, well, that's the wrong clientele, partner, because you're going to lose me as a customer if you're going to go after that clientele. And I think there's a lot of other people too, maybe not as vociferous as I was about it, but they got to be a little bit upset about seeing that. I would be if I had brought my children in there, my young children, to see that.
But you're making another point. The other point is Rick Bunch goes in and gets upset, visibly upset, and does it. Most other people have been so desensitized over the years, they go, oh, there's another mug with the F-bomb on it. Let's keep shopping.
Yeah.
But you consciously stopped.
Right.
And made a point.
Right.
And does it come from your military background too?
Yeah, a combination of that and my military background and my Christian background, and
probably more Christian background.
Yeah, and being married to a wife like I had before she passed away, and a lot of people know her, Ellen Hagen.
Yeah.
And she was my moral compass, to a great degree, other than my Christian faith, And when you have a spouse that shares the same values, it's a lot easier to raise our kids. Our kids would never talk like that. Our kids would never use those words, or they wouldn't be walking straight.
So let me ask you this, about 2.5 minutes to go in this segment.
Right.
What would would your hope be, and let me give you sort of like a multiple choice, would your hope be that they just say, oh, well, too bad. If he don't like it, he didn't have to shop here? Or would the second choice be, you know, Rick, who shopped here many, many times, has a point. Rick has been here spending money for 10 years and probably a lot of other people, so maybe we're losing a good group of people for somebody who might want to come in and get some profanity once or twice.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And you got to understand, who wants those type of products anyway? I mean, are those
Obviously somebody does.
Are those the big spenders? I mean, you know, I don't know. It's just not classy.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
not, you know. But it's just, you know, I would hope that people would go in the stores and express their dissatisfaction with that, and talk with their pocketbooks. That's what people respond to these days. They talk. You know, I own my own businesses. If somebody was unhappy with something my business did, I responded immediately. And what you say and what you do, what comes out your mouth, what you portray on your professional shirt, and you know, it's like, Martin, what would you do if one of your employees came in and had some profane saying on the front of it? I don't think you would let them in here.
It happened before back in the day.
It did?
Yeah, we addressed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I bet you did.
Yeah, and it's hard. Look, that's even hard from an employer-employee standpoint, because once again, we're not perfect, we're not innocent, we're not claiming to be. I think your point is, don't serve it up so easy for the young kids to see.
Right.
Bridle it down a little bit.
Yeah, keep it, you know, to your private, exchanges with people in the right setting. You're out at duck hunting camp, you're drinking a few beers with your
Yeah.
friends, you say a few bad words. You know, that's pretty much like the guy
Or put a section in the back.
Yeah, right. Now, if this store, by the way, would have had, someone mentioned this to me, I thought that was a good idea. If they had put a sign and separate that section and said, adult products here,
Right.
not suitable for children,
Yeah.
then I don't have any problems with that.
Well said. Rick, I appreciate you notifying us. I wanted to give you your say-so on it, and I
Well, I
appreciate you
appreciate
coming
that.
forward. And I'll get you back when your book is finished in about 3 months.
Okay, buddy. Thank you so much for having me and let me vent.
All right, Richard, thank you. Once again, Richard Bunch, great member of our community. We'll take a break. We'll have a lot more here on Bayou Time. Don't go away.